Hey guys, welcome to Quinian's Budget Crafts. So I know this is a little outside my normal format for the midweek videos, but just stick with me, I think it'll be worth it. So the first thing you're going to need is a whole bunch of bricks. Just cut out a whole bunch of strips, turn them 90 degrees, and cut them again. You don't need to be too exact, you can just eyeball them here. It's actually better if they're not perfect. Then take a Pringles can, wrap it in saran wrap, and put down some glue. I'm using the Turbo Tacky glue because it dries pretty quick, but you can use any kind of white glue you want. And then just start layering your bricks on. I did a full row all the way around, and then started building up just wherever it seemed like it would look good. Kind of give it a spin, look around, see if you can find some spots you want some more glue and some more bricks. And stick them on, whatever you think looks good. Once you've got it to where you want it, go ahead and cover the outside of them with glue and take a wet brush and just sort of smear the glue all around. Now I decided that the single row of bricks around the top end is going to be too flimsy, so I put a second row on there. Once you've allowed that to dry completely, go ahead and pull the whole thing off. Take the saran wrap out of it and let it dry on the inside. This first one here is going to be for the top part of the well. So make your tendrils coming down however makes sense for you. And now do it again for the bottom part of the well. This time go ahead and start out with 2 bricks tall on your row around the bottom. Frame out a door however makes sense to you. I tried to do an archway to start with and decided I didn't want to cut the bricks all weird, so I just went with a square. And then stack them on however looks good. I figured bricks leading up to the door and then basically no other bricks would look pretty good. And I put a little bit around the back coming up just to kind of make it reach towards the top portion. And once you're done, same thing as the first one, just cover it in white glue and let it dry. Now in order to get the top and the bottom to stay standing without like a clear tube or something, we're going to hide a brass rod inside of the rope. I'm not sure what size this rod is. I got it from Ace. It is stock number 1162. So in order to hide that rod inside the rope, we're going to have to weave the rope around the rod. We'll use a round braid to do that. So you know how to braid with 3 strings, right? Just over, under, over, under. Well, with a round braid, it's the same thing, except you have 4 strings, and you do it like this. Cross the 2 middle strings, starting with the leftmost string, go under the 2 in the middle, come back over the rightmost one, making the one that you're working with and the leftmost one your 2 left strings. Then do the same thing with the right string. Go under the 2 middle, back over the leftmost one so that your active string and then the other one you went under are now your rightmost strings. And just keep doing that over and over and over until you get something like this. So how do you get the rod hidden in it like this? Same idea. Just take 2 strings, tie an overhand knot on the rod so you have 4 strings, cross your 2 strings in the middle over the rod, take your leftmost string, go underneath both of them and the rod, come back over the rightmost string and the rod so that the active string and the left one are now your 2 left strings. Same thing with the right side. Go underneath the 2 strings and the rod, come back over the leftmost string so that your active one and the rightmost are now your right strings. It is a little tricky to get the hang of initially, but once you get it down, you can just fly through this. Starting the knot on the rod is the hardest part because if it keeps twisting around the rod, you're going to have a weird spiral pattern going on. So just hold the knot in place while you get the first 4 or 5 wraps on and it'll stay. Then when you're all done, just tie another knot on the end. Okay, so now your brick things are going to have excess white glue puddles sticking out. Just trim those off with your X-Acto. And don't worry if you end up breaking some of them, we can fix that later. Okay, so take one end of the rod, clamp some vice grips onto it, take something else about the same size as your crossbeam in the well is going to be. I just used the screwdriver extension. Regular screwdriver would work too. And then just start bending the rod sideways around it. Just get yourself a couple of loops, however many you think you're going to want on the support rod up top. Now figure out about how far apart you want the top and bottom to be. I ended up going with somewhere around 9.5 inches. Clamp your vice grips on there again. Bend the rod off at 90 degrees And then take the remaining portion and bend it into a loop so it looks like the rope is just kind of coiled on itself sitting on the bottom. If you don't like all the fuzzies, you can burn them off with a lighter, and then cut the whole thing in Mod Podge and black paint. Figure out about how high you're going to want your well's roof to be, and then cut you off a couple of wood dowels for that. These will stand in for timbers. Using the lid from the Pringles can, go ahead and make a circle on a piece of dollar store ready board, and then draw another circle around that circle. The Pringles lid is almost directly in the center of your wall bricks, so you're going to want to circle inside where the lid is and outside. This will be your capstones on top of the well. So just cut out both circles, and then cut some lines in there to separate the stones, then run your ballpoint pen through to make sure you can see each individual stone. Texture it with some crumpled up aluminum foil. Then take another piece of ready board, kind of cut out a loose freeform kind of round sort of thingy, and then do the circle in the middle. This will stand in as the ground for around the well. Use your foil ball to go ahead and texture everything. And then take your circle that actually fits and put it in the bottom of the well, and then hot glue it in place. Once you've gotten all the little tacky glue mess thingies off and hot glued any bricks that try to pop off, all that good stuff, everything's good to go. Go ahead and cover everything in Mod Podge. While that dries, go ahead and take your sticks that you have for the timbers and cut a bunch of wood grain into them and sort of distress the wood by scraping off the corners, maybe put some gouges in it, that kind of stuff. Take your dowel for the crosspiece and do the same thing, and then paint all of it brown. Use some golden sunset to cover the entire rope to make it look like rope again. Once that's all dry, go ahead and mix up some more of that gray tan paint mixture we did on the last one, and paint your bricks. Paint both sides of the ground circle brown. Use granite gray to highlight your bricks, followed by a little antique white. Figure out where your timbers are going to go, and push them into the foam to make an impression, and then cut out just a little bit smaller than the impression. Put a little glue in the hole and stick the timbers in. Figure out how long you need that cross piece to be. Go ahead and mark that and cut it off. Put your ground piece on and glue both sides, top and bottom. Don't worry about making a hot glue mount, we're going to cover that. Thread the cross piece through your bundled up rope and stick it in the post where you want them to go. Put a little temporary hot glue there to keep it in place. And use a very small drill bit and drill through the timber and the post. Take a little nail, add some super glue to your hole, and stick the nail in there. This one piece is holding up the entire top of the build, so hot glue is just not going to be enough. Where you hot glued the timbers into the stone pieces, that'll be fine, but this cross piece won't. Alright, now I went ahead and put black wash on everything and ended up not liking it, so it's up to you if you want to skip that step or not. So put some tacky glue on the underside of the ground, and then sprinkle some dirt and sand on it. Take a bunch of the Spanish moss and stick that on there. Kind of mush it in. This is going to look like your roots hanging down. Same thing up top, except this time we're going to use some more of that Luke's APS flocking. And I put some on top of the cross piece and on the nails and stuff like that, just to try and hide them. Take your clear coat and spray all the flocking and the moss to hold it down. And now for the roof. So these strips here are just cereal box cardboard that I've painted one side with Mod Podge and black already. And the cardboard I'm using for the roof panel is just a really thin stuff. Just figure out about where you want your roof to be, mark it and cut that out. For the shingles, just put some tacky glue down and put the strips across it, making sure to overlap. Go ahead and leave them run long on one side and trim those off once you're done. Do the same thing to the other panel. Get another one of those timber pieces. Cut it just a little bit longer than your panels if you want to have the ends sticking out. Distress it and paint it brown, same as the other ones. And glue it to the top of your other two timbers. Now mark on the underside of your roof panel where the upright timbers are. Put a line of super glue and stick a matchstick to it. Go ahead and paint the underside brown. Add a good line of hot glue in between the two of them and hold them up on the roof until it settles at the angle you want the roof panels to be. Once it's good and secure, go ahead and take another strip of the cereal box cardboard and hot glue it to the center. Touch up any black you need to touch up, and then sponge on some brown. After looking at it, I decided I didn't like how the black wash killed all my highlights, so I went and put those back on. So like I said, if you didn't want to kill your highlights, just skip the black wash maybe. To make this stay in the bottom, figure out which way you want it oriented in there, spin it around until it looks right to you. Put some hot glue on the bottom of the rope and stick it in. And then in order to weight this down so it doesn't fall over, just go ahead and pretty much fill it up with tacky glue, and then put a whole bunch of rocks and sand in there. And there you go. You got a floating well with an exit on the bottom to go into whatever dungeon you want to put it up against. Thank you for watching, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, all that stuff, and I'll catch you on the next one.